you do with that information once you have it? Or do you say, oh, well, we should all give the land back to the Native Americans? The United States of America should cease to exist. Well, no, that's not going to happen. And why not? Because like we're many generations.
Baby, I miss shine. Clouds will roll away. I will try either way. Maybe you love me, maybe you don't. Either you will or you won't. Need some time alone. I will try to see everything. I don't know anybody. What's going on, everybody? Just noticed the names. I'm getting double. I was playing that. I hear myself double in my ear. There we go. CogDis-Hoe. I don't think Jared's coming in. Flip should be here already. I don't know where he is. Maybe he's getting some time to serenade a little longer. What's everybody doing for Christmas? Let's see if I can do that solo. Nope, I can't. Something like that. Somewhere. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be interesting. I didn't even know any of this was going on. Has anybody been following the Nuance, Hoe, and Mormon book reviews thing? Anybody? Yeah. Let me. Blue Meanie's been following it. Just heard about it today myself. Troy turned us on to it. We watched it all today. Jared watched it all, and I don't think he's coming in. Man, it's wild. Talked a little bit to Steve about it. And Flip was lit up earlier about it. So let me see where Flip is. Oh, just heard him. There he is. Hey. Not a chance. I learned about it from you. Steve heard about it. I was asking if they heard about the Nuance Hoe thing after they heard me crap out some Wilco poorly. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
You're still a polycelibate.
No, I need to fix that. I haven't thought of something. You got any ideas? It's not funny.
You could be poly. I don't know. Polycelibate's pretty good.
It's a redo. That's why I haven't redone them before.
If this ever gets back to Kara, I mean, they'll be quick to call you that. They'll be like, look at these incels in their basements.
Incel.
They say sexist things about people, these incel males who can't have sex.
So I just now, because I guess yesterday, those two girls, Kara and Lindsay, put out a reply to Mormon book reviews, and I just listened to the first few minutes of it.
You only listen to the first few? I thought you listened more.
No. Like, because I think this is a different thing. Because this thing is like, I listened to the Mormon book reviews thing, and the way the guy was talking about Kara and the girl and what they're saying, I'm like, man, this sounds pretty bad. I need to listen to this. So I went back and listened to that. No, so apparently they put out a response to Mormon book reviews response, like a reply.
Yeah.
And I listened to the first few minutes of that just now, and that is maddening.
That's
like
the main one I'm going off of.
I watched the original one. I was like, I can't believe how
OG.
I think so. Am I insane? But like, it's
then you watch the Mormon book. This is the problem, is it's like 4 or 5 replies in now. But
it's astounding to me how stupid these girls are. Girls are like, they learn nothing.
Oh my gosh, Flip.
And
misogynistic.
And they came right out of the gate, and they just make it. It's amazing. They literally just make it all about identity immediately. We're like, oh, she's doing the whole ironic,
the guy when he goes
thing. What's that? She goes, oh, a couple of ex-Mormon women read history books and decided to give their opinion. Well, this is what happens. It's just like, they just make me so angry. Like, no. It's just, you guys, it's one thing, like, because you guys are wrong. Like, I mean, it's not, because, like, it's not like they're dumber about this than they are about anything else, or that Kara is. It's just that, like, the people you're defending, like you're carrying water, like you have no idea who you're carrying water for, and while you're saying that Israel is engaged in ethnic cleansing,
they just know that Mormons and Christians are just as bad. Have you studied history?
Oh, that's right. I forgot to study history, and I don't have empathy.
Yeah, so there it is on the screen, and Troy asked them about this kind of hyperbolic title, if you can read it. Can you see it there at all?
I know that Troy commented on the thing. Oh,
their thing says, this guy claims Israeli babies matter more than Palestinian babies.
So like he never said that?
No.
And see, and that thing is like, and Troy, I think, called them on it, I think.
Well, here's Troy's comment on there.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Can you see it to read it?
Yeah.
I want to pull something. Go ahead and read it.
Oh.
Because I'm pulling something.
Bottle of wine. Let's see. Is the source for the quote used in Nuance's response? Okay, 2,800 is the source. Here he says equal, if not more, which is indeed weird phrasing, but excluding the equal part from the thumbnail quote makes it sound particularly slanted. Putting the exact phrase in quotes rather than interpreting it in the sensational way probably would have been both more charitable and accurate while still drawing attention desired, in my opinion. Yeah, he's being really nice about that. Like, yeah, no, they knew what they were doing. Like, yeah, it's just, but I don't know, there's so many. I took down all these notes of all the dumb things they said.
So did you watch the entire Mormon book review response to it?
I think so. I think I did watch the whole thing.
So they only got, their whole 2 hours there only gets through maybe 20 minutes of that.
Yeah.
And from the start of it, the one Lindsay girl claims to have watched it, and Kara said that she hadn't watched it, which is kind of wild to me. Like, well, I'm just going to come into cold to it or something like that. But like,
well, that's another thing. Like, where really, because like with Dan McClellan, like he went to school, he got the PhD, he got the award. Like, if you ask, like, where does he get the idea that he can speak so authoritatively when he's being such an ass? It's like, well, college. That's where he got that idea. Kara, where did she get the idea that she could speak like this?
You didn't listen long enough. She said like 5 times, I've studied this for like a whole month. She said that at least 5 times.
Well, because like, and did you get? I think I timestamped it. I wrote down so many.
I've timestamped it. Yeah, I can pull. Yeah.
There's the one where the other girls like. I mean,
here.
Like, I think it's like 3.5 solid minutes at least of perfect perfect projection. I think it's that Lindsay girl. I'm being misogynistic by calling her a girl. But like, when she's like, for people who didn't start learning about this on October 7th, it's like, I know that's you. I know that's you. Like,
that they didn't start until October 7th.
There are so many things that like I wish.
Didn't even think of that. That's probably true.
Because I wish I could be in the room with them, because I'll never get to ask them these questions.
They claim that they're down to debate, although these guys both kind of like claimed the other claimed and then bluffed and then pulled away.
Oh no, they don't mean it. I
highly doubt we'll ever get to. Kara claims she'd talk to anybody. I bet you she would if we got like 2,000 people on the channel or something.
Yeah, no, we'd have to have a poll.
She still probably wouldn't,
but because one of them,
she does not like grouping. We should not see anything black and white or group any sort of people into monoliths.
Yeah, we shouldn't speak into generalizations
from them.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Lindsay says. These people just speak in generalizations. Like that's all you do.
That is one. No, I stopped thinking like a conservative like that who only generalizes and thinks in black and white.
But like they take
in the sentence.
What's funny is they deliberately take she deliberately takes a quote that Jabra makes totally out of context and makes it out. It's funny how very similar she is to Cardin. Like honestly, about how they formulate their arguments. But
here,
I already lost my train of thought. Yeah, we just get started.
Let me show you their first argument here real quick.
We'll come back to it all. Just it's almost stunning how like how like oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were talking about here.
Where the homeless had their home.
I'm just messing.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's
not.
I've pulled it up before. Like Jessica Simpson, you can't hear her say what the heck she's talking about, and then Jewel talks about they took away the homeless places where the homeless had their homes, and I was just making fun that was them. It was probably a misogynistic joke by me. We'll come back.
Yeah, which is like that's right. I was saying because Sarah's talking about like she totally misconstrues something Java says. It's like he doesn't even know that like there's a whole variety of Palestinian political parties.
So
and if I was in the room with her, I'd be like, yeah, it's like, okay, well, name the Palestinian political party that is pro peace with Israel. You go ahead and tell me about that. They say that
this guy doesn't know. This guy who is
Palestinian, and the whole time they have no idea. It's clear that the whole time they have no idea that the guy is an Arab Muslim. Well, the whole time she's talking about him, like.
He's a Christian now, but he was
not an Arab Muslim. Sorry, an Arab Christian. Sorry, an Arab Christian is what I said. But he's Palestinian. He's an actual Palestinian. No, like this episode, like how dense with jokes the life of Brian is. Like that's how dense with stupid this podcast was. Like how just the relentlessness. I know we say this a lot. I kind of feel like Mike Stiklas, where he always says this is the worst thing we ever saw. But like this is the dumbest thing we've ever reviewed in terms of just like intensity of dumb.
Look, okay, I've got. I mean, I didn't have a ton of quotes from it. I mean, here's another quote from
it. Personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps and our education, like such as in South Africa and Iraq, everywhere, like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries. So we will be able to build up our future.
Yeah, I don't know what she was talking about there, but
it's on the same level.
She does actually the way that gal speaks. If you listen to Kara speak, she does that. You know how that girl goes everywhere, such as, like, such as, such. Kara does have that kind of like tick in her speaking. Not that having like a tick in speech like that makes you a dum-dum, but she does do that all the time. Like as such, and you go, what? Like what? You didn't finish the sentence there. And
no, there's a lot of that. But then there's a lot of very specific claims they make that are just so shockingly wrong.
So I just like right 1 hour before this, the Lindsay gal, I listened to a whole debate she had with Destiny. Did everybody know she debated Destiny?
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
How did you? And you listened to it?
I listened to it.
What did they debate
I can
on?
pull up the last couple minutes. Well, Destiny's non-socialist. He's a lefty, but he's capitalist, you know. So
How
and she's
dare
a
he.
socialist. And so, you know, a lot of the debate was her talking about, you know, we could tax capital gains all the way down. But then by the end of it, she called him a misogynist. I can pull that up.
Oh,
Or at least he was addressing her calling him a misogynist. But I don't know. So what sort of things do you have? What are people saying in the comments?
just reading the comments, like when because I was on my way to work this morning, I think, when I started listening to it, and she says, like, you know, having deconstructed Zionism. Like,
Yeah.
oh God.
You just haven't deconstructed Zionism yet.
You just have, like, she's. I don't know. It's again like I wish that Christopher Hitchens were around to come up with the words for how just like because like part of me just wants to just go off on like just a string of insults and just but yeah, it's hard to really do justice to how stupid this is.
It's also tough. One of the other things I was going to point out is that Lindsay girl claims to have watched it. They keep going off on how the guy gets their names wrong. He says Laura, and it was probably like a blending of Lindsay and Kara. Yeah. And they keep asking why Steve doesn't correct it. And I'm like, you guys didn't listen. You guys didn't listen. He does correct them. So you're lying that you listened.
He does correct them. And he points out they never mentioned his name once.
Yeah. And but you guys are also lying that you know, at least that Lindsay girl, at least, or she has a bad memory. But give me a thing. One of the things that I have written down that I could probably pull up first the way she says multiple times that I studied this for a month. I studied this for a month.
A whole month.
Whereas the other guy's like a PhD in Israeli studies. And I like the point that they start out saying, like, you need to be skeptical of anybody who has a studies in a thing that's where all their biases are going to lie. Oh, I love when you give me reasons that our arguments against things like feminist studies or queer studies, or, you know, you're telling us that people just have like a goofy bias for the thing that they're an expert in.
You know, what's funny is I had planned to talk. I just assumed that we were going to talk about Cardin and that hilarious video.
Yeah, we could pull that stuff up too.
But well, I mean, I just assumed that was going to be because, you know, that was the big story of the week. But then, like, this thing, seriously,
it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The Cardin. I mean, I have the Cardin stuff too. Where Cardin went over the God makers.
We'll stop talking about it and get going. This, but I just can't believe.
Let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can find where she said that she studied this. She studied this for a whole month. In there somewhere. But anyway,
there are some things that she says that, like, they're very obviously received opinions that I wonder where she gets them. Because you know, there's just sort of the general.
Well, yeah, it's the lefties. The lefties like, received opinions on Palestine since October 7th.
Well, I know, but there's some specific claim because, like, yeah, she's got the kind of just, you know, general lefty received opinion. But there's some specific claims that she makes. Where I'm like, where are you getting this?
They've said that the Gazans should be wiped off the face of the earth. So I think we need to, like, let's talk to both groups about getting rid of biases, because pretending that there's biases in one group and not the other is ridiculous. And, like,
oh my God,
Semitism
really?
are people who live in these areas. So is it anti-Semitic for the people of Israel to be saying those things about Palestinians?
This one's from December 14th. So the one I'm talking about is the one after this one.
Yeah, so I think I listened to all of that one. That's the one I'm talking about. And then I started listening to the one that just came out yesterday.
This is
we got ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, this is the one I just started listening to. Because, like, and this one, the way this one launches off, they triple down on every stupid thing they could have. Like, I was hoping that, like, oh, maybe there'd be some like behind the scenes talk, maybe she looks up some things, maybe a little bit of reflection. But no, it's clear that just like, nope, they're just sticking with the story.
Pro-Israel, pro-Zionist Latter-day Saints or Christians as well. It just, my thought process goes, we have biases. We all do. The first question that I asked Steve when I was on his show was, because he was talking about how he just wants to have discussions. He wants to hear all sides. And I said, okay, let me get to know you. What are your biases? And I just asked him that straight up. And he's like, oh, I've never been asked that before. I was like, you could ask me, what are my biases? I'll tell you my biases all day long. It looks like genocide, walks like genocide, talks like genocide. I don't want any part of your genocide. I have biases like that. I have biases.
That's your whacked out perception.
That's not what bias means. Like, that's what I mean to say. I have bias. Like, oh, because
here's them admitting that.
But you are also going to have, like you said, biases about that.
This is where he's.
And I'm sure he knows far more than I do about Israeli studies. But you are also going to have, like you said, biases about that perspective, and that just like any other person.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. We're allowed to use that argument now when we talk to feminists if we don't have the same degree as feminists do, even though tangentially, sort of. I've got a feminist PhD. You can't talk to me about this. I've studied it for years. Thanks for the argument against that.
A certain education in one place. How many conservatives are like, you're damn liberal universities? I'm like, there's also plenty of universities that will give you a real heap of Zionist propaganda down your mouth hole.
Yeah, so. Because those Zionist people were usually also peddling into liberal stuff.
But what is he talking about? Like, I wish I could be in the room to call her bluff. Like, what are you even talking about? I just know
it's true. And since October, there's been a lot of clashing with that, like we talked about last week, of some of those Jewish donors saying, hey, wait a minute. But they did get a ton of money for a while from Jewish donors, and they thought that those universities were pretty on their side. And they probably funded stuff that was pretty on their side. But what they realized in the past month, that even the places that they were funding and thought were on their side have gargled down this oppressor bullcrap ideology that you guys have gargled.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny that they talked about being skeptical of the
also, I mean, she says like, oh, if it walks like genocide, talks like genocide, and this whole time they're carrying water for Hamas, and it's just.
Oh, they try to say who in the right mind backs Hamas, but.
Well, you guys.
They try to dodge out of that because of nuance. That's why I called it cognitive dissonance. I put a post up saying, I think I think nuance is just cognitive dissonance that you're proud about. And, well, at least in her case, it is for sure.
I think the most fun I've had.
Because they ended up talking about, if you didn't get all the way through this one, they talk about stuff about all the girls on TikTok who answer the questions about, do you know that if you showed up in a bikini to Palestine, they'd this or that or the other to you? And they'd be like, wow, I didn't know that negated human rights. Zing. And besides, you Christians take away my human rights with the abortions, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's perfectly.
This is more
in a very long time, which was my goal, because I spent a month working on those videos and I was so depressed and sad.
I think it's funny because she repeats it again and again. Like I could pull a montage of it. Here it is, like an hour later.
We have a responsibility with this platform. I didn't make any money on those videos, and I spent weeks and hours and over a month researching and editing those. And
I think it's funny because like they're talking to a guy. I mean, they just said it themselves from the start. But if we're flexing on like how hard you've studied the thing, I think the guy born and raised in all different countries and has a PhD in
the guy, and like has
cry about some time put into it.
Well, also because it's like, and also like he is like, Kara, you're an ex-Mormon, so when you talk to people about Mormonism, you have that particular point of view. He is an ex-Palestinian Hamas supporter, or not self-supporter, but like,
Yeah,
like he
said
says, like,
supporter.
I used to believe all of this anti-Israel propaganda. Like, I used to buy all. He talks about all the dumb shit that he believed because he was raised in this particular ideology. And it wasn't an accident that that's how that worked.
So what sort of quotes did you, one of the things that they kept harping on, and I think this is a dodge, and I've heard other people say it too, but when people try to say Zionism is completely secular, I just don't buy it, man. Like, or at least initially started out as completely secular. I'm sorry, it's theocratic. I know that there's some people who said there was portions of it that were secular or atheistic or whatever, but when the whole thing's like, Israel needs a state based off of a Jewish people, and the reason for it comes from a religious book, I do not see. The only way I think people come up with the idea of saying that that's not theocratic is so that they can get out of being called anti-Semite for being against it. That's not that I believe that you're an anti-Semite for being against Zionism, but I think that's what the game they're trying to dodge themselves.
Yeah, because that's one of the many issues I have with this. Their whole take on this is they're pretty fast and loose with Zionist, and they frequently just conflate Christian right wing and Zionist and Western. It's all the same thing, which is completely stupid. Because like at its most basic definition, you can just say like, well, I think Jobber says it. Like, well, Zionism is just the idea that the Jews deserve to have a place to have their own and be safe.
Yeah, that's the most secular form.
But you get it all the way up to like, it
turns into religious Zionism for sure. But even the concept of saying a religious people deserve their own secular country, I don't see how that's not. I don't see how that stems into saying that it's just secular. They wouldn't allow that if it were Christian nationalism. They wouldn't allow that if it was it's just secular to say Mormons deserve their own state. Like, come on, like, it doesn't. I don't follow. It does not follow for me at all when people sit there trying to make that argument that it's just secular and philosophical. And I think they're only trying to do it because they don't want to be called a religious bigot. And I don't think you're a religious bigot for saying that you're not totally down with the Zionism, but it is what it is. It's theocratic angle,
Yeah.
So what?
Well, because I watched the whole other video, the one before this.
This isn't the one you watched, though?
That's the one I only watched a few
So did you want to pull
minutes
pieces from the other video?
If we need to.
I guarantee you this one will drive you twice as dumb. But
I'm sure. I mean, I've kind of talked about a lot of it anyway already. I mean, like I said, there's just so much stupid with this. Like, because what point, she talks about like they're carpet bombing Gaza. And it's just like, I mean, just as autistically, like that is wrong in so many ways. She talks about civilians being shot down in the streets in Gaza by Israeli soldiers. What are you talking about? Really, what is she talking about? And she's got the whole thing completely backwards. Like, it's the Palestinian terrorists that do things like shooting down civilians in the streets, and it happens with some frequency. Like the whole thing about October 10th wasn't that like, oh my God, they did it. It's that, oh my God, they never did it this fast before. But like, if you just read the BBC every day, then like these things happen, a few times a year, probably at least. And she's God, she's got everything completely backwards. It's so insane. Because
look, it's taking the genocidal Mormons down to empathy town. So she calls them genocidal first off, and then to empathy town. How many times do you think the word empathy is dropped? It's there up there, but guess without looking. It's 30 times. We're seeing the word 30 times.
But I like that thing. Like because one thing Jobber talks about that's so fascinating is that like none of the neighboring or surrounding Arab Muslim countries will give Palestinian refugees citizenship.
They won't even let them in. Yeah.
Well, because in Sabra and Shatila, there's these Palestinian refugee camps in Beirut, and they've been around since the 60s. And I was confused because like that's one of the things I was confused about when I learned about Sabra and Shatila, because that was in the 80s, I'm like, well, wait a second. Why were there it's been decades? How are there still these refugee camps? Like, well, it's because the Lebanese weren't going to give them citizenship. No.
And over the years, they've ended up becoming ruffians in all those different states too. They end up pulling crap inside of those states. I've heard a long list of all the different things that they've done and demonstrations and explosions that they created in those other states, which is, kind of curious about watching the whole thing about why they do that. But none of them want the Palestinians. There's twice the borders and walls between Egypt and Gaza than there is between.
Like, again, like just somebody who's listened and read the BBC every day for the last 25 years or whatever. I can remember a couple times in my life in the news where they talk about the Egyptians blowing up Gazan tunnels, because the Egyptians don't want that shit. Because the Gazans would have smuggling tunnels into Sinai.
Yeah.
Which they would use to get around the barricade with Israel to do all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Let's listen to some of the empathies drop. That'll probably give us a good idea.
And so that I can draw an accurate opinion from them that actually is substantiated by the most empathy, the most care for people, regardless of where they come from. That's not, that's not really where he's going with this.
They're so not doing that ever. You're so not ever. You are directionally giving out empathy, and you've always only directionally given out empathy. You aren't empathetic to the whole world at all. Yeah. Just like Dan tries to make his description. Like, you think that you are able to pick out the oppressors and the oppressees everywhere, but you really just kind of follow a received opinion line about who are the oppressors and the oppressees in any given situation. Yeah. And then you direct all of your empathy, sometimes too much empathy, to the point of empathizing with criminals and in the directions you're told to from, you think you're getting like these big open-minded positions, but somehow you land right on the same open-minded positions of every other lefty, exactly as all of them do. And you don't have like this big world empathy for any person. You have zero empathy for anybody who you deem the baddie, even if that baddie is actually a person under the thumb or downstream of the violence of the people that you are empathizing with.
Yeah. Let's see.
Have to read way too much history to understand why they're doing the things that they're doing. It's the least empathetic road that you could possibly take. And I do this ex-Mormon work because I know what it's like to have a very dogmatic belief in one thing and then give all of that up and be like, I could be wrong about everything. I could be wrong about a lot of the things I'm talking about today.
Except for the stuff that you're
could you be, Kara? Like, because it's amazing because you're responding to a response that you clearly listened to none of.
Yeah, you didn't take a second to listen to the guy at all, and you guys did this stream and you didn't even get 20 minutes into it. We've listened to more of your guys' argument than you guys have listened to your arguments, and I don't think you have day jobs. Why were we? I mean, we're getting confused. You guys should be able to follow it back and forth about which one was first, second, and third and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we listen to all the stuff. We got day jobs, and we have other stuff to listen to, and we have other people to talk about. And you guys who probably just do this all day, I don't know what else you do, can't bother to listen to the arguments? Listen to the damn arguments.
For the love of all that is good and holy, people, come on. Go with the least dogmatic. Go with the least dogmatic take that you can go. Find the empathy road.
Go with the take.
This empathy road.
Take? You guys talk forever about straw manning takes. How about go with the actual takes? You guys did not listen at all.
No, the thing I listened to that wasn't this one, the first one, they straw man nearly, I think, without fail, every clip they play of him. And they're not even straw manning something that they don't let the audience hear. They play the clip for the audience and then lie about what they just played the audience. Yeah.
In this one, they talk about well, these guys never talk about where's their empathy for the Muslim brothers and all that stuff. I'm like, well, they go into it for a good 20 minutes at the end of the podcast that Lindsay supposedly had already listened to, but obviously didn't. Yeah. And then you're sitting there talking about, you guys are sitting there confused about why he's not correcting the names, and it's coming up in a minute. And I'm like screaming at the screen, like, you didn't listen. I know you didn't listen. You lied that you listened, even though Kara bragged that she didn't listen.
Marissa, should use this construction of empathy road. which again just goes to show how she sees this all as like it is all very like a Gnostic religious thing, where it's like, oh, this is it's
You
like
just-
hold to the iron rod, and you
You
need to
cock
go
your
down
head
the
back and
empathy
yell
road.
empathy, and you're
Yeah,
doing it. Oh, my empathy, I am doing it. My care of empathy. What was your other one? Like, high on a mountaintop. How did you do it? A band isn't for. It's John the Lynn and Kara. They're full of empathy. You made it rhyme though.
yeah, I don't remember. Yeah,
Find the curiosity road. Don't think that you know everything. I certainly don't. I'm here to be taught by Lindsay. And my
Oh my
conversation.
God.
oh God, no.
Yes.
So
Oh, you're in trouble.
We
Lindsay
both
is dumber
started
than
studying
you.
since October 7th. That's what's.
And I really think Lindsay might be dumber than Kara. I really think so.
The thing is like from that Palestinian side, some of the arguments, I've listened to a ton of people arguing on that side of stuff. And so it's like, I've heard people who aren't dumb talk about it, that I even know some angles that they're not even going after or talking about. Like these guys don't mention once. One of the main things that people on their side of stuff love to mention is that Netanyahu and Israel helped create and fund Hamas. These guys never mention it. They don't talk about it at any point. That's like usually like the first point Scott Horton or Martyr Maid or Dave Smith are talking about in any one of these issues. And Martyr Maid made something like 30 hours of podcast stuff, which I haven't completed, but I've listened to some of it, going back through the entire history of back and forth from the pogroms up through the the Jewish mandate or the British mandate, up through the Nabka, up through the whatever they had, those different wars all along. He's just going bit by bit of every tit for tat. There's this tit, there's that tat. There's this tit, there's that tat.
Yeah.
There's this tit, there's that tat. And there's a million of them, and you could listen to them all. You could spend your life and become an expert on it, and it'd be hard to regurgitate or remember every single stinking one of them. But
no way.
There's people who are on their side of stuff, generally just saying, "Hey, we need to be more empathetic for Palestinians," and I'm cautious of the Zionists. And I hate to tell you, Kara, I hate to break it to you, a lot of those people who would be on your side are kind of super hardcore white nationalist right wingers. Hate to tell you that. But they've studied it and been going way back studying this because they kind of have a hard on for studying Zionism and Israel and that sort of way.
Yeah, for some reason.
For some sort of reason. And they know all the little facts. And your hard on's pretty new for it because you just barely got the download. But
it really is just like that too. It's like she downloaded the DLC, the Israel package of Blue Cathedral.
This is our thing now. But the thing is that's so funny is that all of that stuff, it's just really kind of making everything just so apparent. It's helping break everything down. It's just breaking down across the board. Like people can see the cognitive dissonance here. People can see the thing of like, you guys are empathizing with, everybody gets a little bit like, hey, any innocent collateral sucks. I haven't heard anybody from the Israeli side. I'll be more nuanced than that. I've heard one or two people I've heard Shapiro get a little bit too, so what if there's collateral? I heard him get a little bit that way. He obviously was extremely enraged, just like anybody'd be right after you get. Well, he takes it maybe personally, but I guess he identifies heavily with being Israeli. But but that's usually why. Yeah, that's usually why in civilized society, the person who just recently got attacked isn't like the executioner there going right back after somebody because they tend to just start swinging wildly. But no, most people who are talking about we got to go take out Hamas lament collateral. Most by far,
Yeah.
And
no, this is one of those things like because I'm surprised that like because I thought she was a big fan of Sam Harris.
Yeah.
And I'd like to send her that 15-minute thing of Sam Harris talking about Israel because I think it's very good. And I think if she downloaded that and tried this all over again, it would all go a lot better. Because then she might actually know. Because in this, not in this, but the thing before that, she talks about, literally says Israel is engaged in ethnic cleansing, in genocide, has the desire and plan to drive all of the Palestinians from Gaza, are carpet bombing, are targeting civilians, are literally shooting civilians down in the streets. These are all the things she said. And she says all this as though it's a bad thing, which it's amazing. Isn't that exactly what that is? It is a terrible bad thing. And every one of those things fit perfectly with Hamas's goals.
What the heck does from the river to the sea mean?
Yeah,
like, come on.
And it's like, no, it was Hamas that literally targets civilians. If Hamas had the capability to carpet bomb, they would. Like, I don't know.
It's Hamas that literally knows that they can use the concept of having people as collateral for protection.
Well, because the other thing is that one thing that I find just kind of slightly obnoxious about all the reporting on this is because, they always report, they say it's like, according to the Hamas Health Ministry, 20,000 civilians have been killed.
Yeah, they mentioned that here, and they said really, really good, trustable, really good sources.
Yeah, and it's like, because and it's one thing that, like, it's funny because, like, it's something I noticed immediately, and I can't remember who.
It's God.
I know somebody's pointed out where it's like, isn't it strange how, like, there's no mention of any Hamas militants being killed? Like, I mean, I know it's like, you don't normally release like exact numbers. The Israelis don't, but like, they acknowledge that soldiers have died, but like Hamas hasn't acknowledged that anybody who's died was a militant and not a civilian, but also just if I could explain to Lindsay and Kara, like for Hamas, when children die, that's a win-win. Like they just can't lose, because if the children are killed, then the children go to heaven and are witnesses. They're shahada, witnesses to Islam, and they are in heaven with Allah, and that's good. And they win because they get to turn around and say, "Look what Israel has done. They killed this child," which is why they have been known to do things like launch rockets from playgrounds and store rockets under daycares. Like, these are things they do, plan these excursions. Because, it's one of those things where, like, in the thing I watched, Kara got off
when they get money, they put it back into warfare. They do not put it into humanitarian aid. They steal the humanitarian aid that gets sent there. We just saw this week, they were showing a thing of like all these humanitarian aid trucks getting sent into Gaza, and they were already hijacked by Hamas.
Yeah. No, I know there's a big deal with cement in Gaza. Like, it's very hard to get cement and to import cement from Gaza because, like, to do like everything where it's like, hey, we need this to build critical infrastructure. Okay, here's cement. And what do they build? They build bomb shelters for themselves, to store their rockets and shit in. But like, and there's a whole in the thing that I watched, there's a whole thing that Kara goes on about and touches on a few times about how, actually, and Israel were just so stupid and arrogant because they actually had all the intelligence and they knew it was going to happen, but they let it happen so that they could use this as an opportunity to crush the Gazans. Like, just goes all total conspiracy theory and idiotic. But it's like, no, Kara, part of like how they knew that these types of things were possible is because, like I mentioned before, they have done it on a small scale continuously for decades. Like that's
it's part of the one
what this is going on. Like,
it's part of their GDP. It's part of the one of the main ways they make money is they get funded by by Iran and Qatar.
Yeah, well, like, because I thought it was funny when I learned like that hospital, the whole hospital thing was the center of all that controversy, which Hamas lied about, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They lied about how it happened. They lied about why it happened. They lied about where it happened exactly, and they lied about how many people died. They lied about every single aspect of that. Even lefty media has pretty much acknowledged all of that. I lost my train of thought, but. Yeah, Hamas lies, and they're famous.
You were talking about the 20,000 deaths. That announcement is coming from Gaza, and I can guarantee you, people have died. Yes,
undoubtedly.
I guarantee you, you can take Gaza's numbers and make some sort of division on them by at least half, if not more.
Probably. Yeah.
I don't know. Should we keep messing on them? We could pull like all the little details. How many times she says the nuance? And
I think I don't know. Like we're kind of beating a dumb horse. We're beating a dumb horse. Trying to be smart. Don't be dumb, horse. Smack.
Yeah, that is true. Let me see. Let's find a couple nuances.
Oh,
36 nuances.
Oh my God.
Oh, those are down in the things of her name. Hold on. Let's see how many are inside the thing. It's still like 20 inside the thing. Oh, so she's probably saying it in her name. You could make a nuanced argument.
And you could make various nuanced arguments, but
Nuance.
Israel.
I just like excuse, like when you're Mormon, you're like nuance. Oh,
it's her name.
That's right.
Camp are pretty firmly in it, but
yeah,
I'm here for nuanced discussions always. Okay.
Sure.
The audience, here's my opinion. Let me lay out some nuance. I'm going to be going from point A to B to C. If you want to misunderstand me, you will misunderstand me. If you do not have a vested interest in understanding and being curious, you will willfully stay in an ignorance to just like have the point go whoop over your head. I try my absolute hardest. If I fail at that, please let me know. This is where the nuance hoe.
We're letting you know. We're letting you know. We're here to let you know you're failing at that. Like, because I was just about to say, like, it's funny to me just how much projection it is. Like the whole thing about like the point. Whoop, whoop. No, that's you and Jabra. Like that's what you just described is how you reacted to Jabra correcting you on shit. The point just went whoop whoop whoop.
What facts you can understand and lace it together with as much nuance to help people and lead them along those same thought patterns.
Why do you talk about nuance as if nuance is the ideal? Like you keep saying we need to have as much nuance here as possible. Like you talk about nuance, like you use the word nuance like it's rigor or something like that.
It's the spirit of Christ.
Nuance is not rigor. Nuance.
It's the spirit. It's the spirit. Like you need to approach these things with the spirit.
If something is black and white, like 2 + 2 = 4, it is the nuance is stupid.
Yeah.
If something's black and white, it is black and white.
Yeah.
We need to address this with nuance. A subtle difference in a shade or a meaning or expression or sound. If I'm sitting here looking at two, like this wall paint right here and this wall paint right here, and they're exactly the same, and I'm staring at them for 2 hours to get the nuance in it, I'm being a dipshit.
No, I genuinely think she doesn't know what the word means. I'm really the way she uses it. I think
we need to address this with nuance. We need to come out with a nuance. We need to like.
They weren't willing to listen, and that is a reflection of them and their lack of empathy and curiosity, their lack of nuance, and it is not a reflection of me. The reflection of me should always be that I'm looking how I can do better, how can I explain myself better, and if I feel like
you use nuance, you've made it.
I really do.
It always says like you've made it meaningless. Like it does not mean what you're trying to make it.
And
mean.
empathy too. No, like it's just code for like being right, like I am.
Being right about your feelings. Your feelings are right, even though you guys spent the first part of this podcast dunking on emotional anecdotes when you live off of emotional anecdotes.
This bullshit. When the messengers are just trying to say point A, point B, point C, look at our nuance, look at our heart, but that is not what he's interested in. He has a willful.
Look at our nuance. Look at our
nuance. Behold the nuance.
I just had this imagination. Like I want AI to make it of like the neo-Nazi rally. And there's like look at our nuance, look at our hearts. Look at our nuance, look at our hearts.
Jews will not replace us. Think about this with nuance. Jews will not replace us. Get our nuance point. Behold our nuance point. There's nuance here.
They're the nuances. The nuances.
I'm gonna try to be mighty nuance. Let's see if I get some sort of weird picture if I say mighty nuance.
Mighty nuance.
I'm trying to say like nuance is like
what would AI do with that?
make a mighty nuance. Make a picture of
Jonathan,
what
send us
mighty
the link
nuance
to that
looks like.
thing.
Behold my giant nuance. Yeah, there's nothing. I just don't even understand. She makes me believe in Derrida again. Like words don't mean nothing. None of us understand none of us. Thanks, Kara. You made me believe Derrida. Let's listen to this one.
It's titled like a nuanced discussion to Nuance-Hoe. The description is like very nuanced. The last thing I would describe this as nuanced whatsoever. This is the opposite. This is very hardline, like monolith, everybody black and white. They think the same, not getting kind of curious. Definitely didn't read my dissertation.
They keep making that accusation that the other people are making out a monolith and all this shit. And it's like, God damn it. First off, they're not. Secondly, that's how you talk.
You make things a monolith. Thirdly, if something's just right or just wrong, monolith is correct answer, not nuance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I mentioned,
No, he hasn't watched any of my videos very clearly.
You guys didn't watch any of theirs. Come on.
Yeah. No, like they actually responded to your video, like according to the things you said, the claims you made. You're responding with nuance and empathy, which is to say just your imagination.
That's not it. Nuance like 20 times, empathy like 50 times. They took us down to empathy town. Empathy and nuance. Those are the things. You just cock your head back and yell empathy and nuance, and you're right. And boy, I would hate to debate that. Steve better watch out. And that's the last thing I'm going to say about this. Y'all are friends with Steve. Everybody knows him like Steve. Y'all threw Steve under the bus.
Oh,
like,
yeah. They really did.
Acting like he was, first off, he's just hearing all the sides. And as we've always praised him, when he has people on, he lets the people talk. He's not there to chastise the person. He's letting that person make their point, which is what a proper interviewer does. And then he did correct the guy when he just had names wrong and stuff like that. I myself at first was like, did he say Laura? Like I didn't catch it.
I was confused.
And then after a minute, Steve put it together. He's like, oh, are you referring to, that's Kara and Lindsay. And he did correct them on that sort of stuff. Then the guy was like, he was talking, first off, he mentioned Chris Hedges and Chris Hedges dunking on atheists. Chris Hedges is a lefty. These guys didn't know who he was. And that guy, he says, you guys probably know Chris Hedges. And that's him saying that you guys are the ones who get crazy in your head about that stuff. You've probably seen this guy. He did like TED Talks and all that stuff for a while. Jabba read it. He has a book called I Don't Believe in Atheists, but this guy's a lefty. And because that guy had that book that Jabra quoted from, they assumed he was some sort of righty guy.
Yeah, no, that's how simple, that's how nuanced their thinking is.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
And Steve, towards the end of it, said, hey, I think I have some pushback on you for how you characterized atheists just as well. Like to Jabra, he said to him, like, no, there's a lot more different thinkers or nuanced thinkers or atheists who are perfectly happy and fine talking with religious people. And I myself was one for a while, he even said. And so he did, for as much as Steve lets people talk, he did make little corrections there in the stuff where it was necessary to make it just as well. And they did talk about that they view Muslims as their brothers and people that they hope that they can get out of it. They would like them, like all of us. What we would really like them to do is just drop that belief system. We're not racist to their skin and their bodies and people and all that sorts of stuff. We would like them to drop that belief system. That's about it.
Yeah. Or just because if you could be Muslim, in America, you can be Muslim in America as long as you understand that the Bill of Rights supersedes. That's that rules, because that was one of the things in the episode that the Lindsay dope went off on a whole tangent and she got completely wrong. This guy said something about wherever Muslims lead, they have to be in charge. And she's like, oh, then this is just the typical right-wing conservative stereotype monolith thinking where it's just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, yeah, I know that's a generalization, lady, but like, if you know anything about the Muslim world at all through time and history and right now, or even how the Islamic belief system is set up, what the Quran says, like no, he's not talking out of school there. Like, according to Islam, that's what Islam says.
Yeah,
like,
the explaining
it's
that
in the book. It's in the book that's the rule.
Yeah. So here she is arguing with Destiny.
My God, this has got to be.
Let me see.
So is she an ex-Mormon too? Is that the idea?
Yeah, she's an ex-Mormon, and somehow she came down with the bisexual.
Oh.
They mentioned that on that podcast too. One of us is the bisexual.
Did she cried when she came out?
Probably. It was probably during Pride Week, all that stuff.
My very first thought process was.
Here it is.
I mean, I would say, depending on who it is, I do think there's a tone deafness without. So.
Okay. Last question. Okay. When I pointed out, when I was like, oh, she seems like she has nice hair, clothes, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Why did your brain go to misogyny for that?
That's what we're programmed to do. If we're stuck in a corner, scream misogyny. That's what.
Because I'm a woman who's been like public online. Like the very like my very first thought process was that you said I looked poor. Because I've never been rich, I would never think that.
Okay, I see. No, I don't know much, but your hair seems decently done up. You have like perfect teeth. I would look at you and I would like eyeball you as being like relatively wealthy. Do you think that? Do you really think that in my video I'd be like, or even if you said, wait, hold on, I'm sorry. Let's back up. Even if you looked poor, how is that misogynistic?
Well, no, but I thought that was so. My two thoughts, and I wasn't sure because I don't know you. So my two thoughts were you were saying she needs this financial advice because she's a stupid blonde woman.
But why? But why couldn't you just be a stupid person?
because I'm a woman.
So wait, does that mean every time I criticize a woman, is it necessarily misogynistic, or?
No. Like if you had to, like, it is the way you said it, because I have like multiple people. Like the person who sent it to me is actually one of your biggest fans. I don't know if it's the biggest fan. They watch all your shit all the time. Huge fan. And they messaged me, and their whole thing was like, hey, this happened. I was out with friends, and they were like, hey, message me on TikTok, and they're like, hey, like he said all these things. So like he just heads up. He talks about your hair. He talks about so from being a woman on online spaces, like not that criticisms mean I'm a woman. You can criticize. You could be like, I don't know, her ideas are fucking stupid. That's not because I'm a woman. I don't give a shit. But like, can you see how, from my perspective, from what my experience online is, you're like, her hair, her clothes, why would I think that had anything, like, of course that sounds misogynistic. What do men comment on all the time? Like how my appearance.
But what?
From a very misogynistic point of view.
It's not to gas you up or anything, but it's not like you're ugly. Like, what am I? How is what I'm saying? It's not like I'm like, oh, this bitch is like you said, bitch. I don't think I ever said that. I'm not like making fun of your appearance.
No, you didn't. No,
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I'm not calling you hideous or whatever. But I mean, in a whole thing where I'm talking about like class and wealth and everything, and it's like, and I think I even said it was like, look at her hair, look at her teeth, blah 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 blah. Like she's probably like decently well off. I just don't know how our brain goes to like he's being misogynistic. Like that just seems like.
But you didn't. You said that on the second one when you clarified. Like on your response to my response, you clarified. You said I thought she was rich. I would never think that because I've never been rich. Like this is all like 10 years old and thrifted. I don't know. Like you're like her room, her clothes. This is from Target. Like I would never think rich because I've never been rich. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, like I know.
Did you know her TikTok channel was socialistly awkward?
I mean, like maybe you sure as hell weren't poor. Like, but the other thing is like I'm just thinking of particularly I have a friend who actually managed to talk through this, but like because she reminds me of this girl, but not that she's this stupid, but this girl kind of has a very kind of Provo, Utah Valley kind of vibe about her, and like my friend like was in total denial that she was rich, because like I had to tell her it's like like you went on cruises, your dad had stocks. Like, no, you were in a rich family, stupid. She had to have this like realization. She's like, oh, I guess I really was.
Yes,
like, it really was like, like I really like it was kind of a come to Jesus moment. Where it's like, no, you were rich. It's okay. Like, There's nothing to feel bad about. Like,
Us who
it's not your fault.
Who are pro-capitalism have no problem if you're a rich kid. It's usually
Yeah.
you, the rich kid, who has a problem with it and
Yeah.
decides to become a socialist so that you can get rich online.
Yeah, there's just I don't know. There's so many things that you can just kind of tell about somebody. Where it's like, you weren't poor, lady.
Usually, the announcement that they're a socialist, a trendy socialist, is the loudest announcement you need that you've had money.
That's true.
Joyce says, "Happy Winter Solstice and International Rush Day 2112." It was winter solstice like half hour ago. I think it was 8:27 on like the west Mountain Standard Time. I love the winter solstice because from this day forward, this year, days only get longer, and me and Charlie can walk and not freeze our bowels off.
Today's been warm. Today's weirdly warm and
it's been warm for a while. I caused it. Sorry, everybody. I winterized my car this year. Put snow tires on. It's my bad. I'm sorry. One of my favorite Kids in the Hall jokes ever. It was just one little skit, and they just said, "We discovered the cause for cancer, and we got a little announcement to make. If we could just make that announcement real quick, Bruce." And Bruce comes out and his just heads down like this. And he's like, "Bruce, what do you got to say?" He's like, "I'm sorry I caused all that cancer." And then that was just the end of the skit.
Oh, that show.
Yeah. So you want to talk God makers?
Yeah, no, because I can you pull up that episode? Because there's so many things that are funny about that. I didn't re-listen to it to get clips, but
they're live now, responding to comments.
Oh, are they?
No, going on in any minute. Not quite.
Responding to comments to that video, or just responding to comments generally?
Probably responding to comments to that video. But...
Dude.
So
I don't know.
Reviewed. I thought it was actually kind of an interesting idea for watchableness. Cardin reviewed the God Makers with a Nevermo, and I think reviewing it with a Nevermo, both of them coming into it blind, as opposed to Kara coming into her rebuttal video blind. She should have listened to the whole entire thing.
Yeah,
Cardin maybe could have done it too, but he made better radio by having to react blindly and react to a Never Mormon blindly about the claims of the Godmaker. To me, it actually made it as entertaining as could be.
No, that was one of the most entertaining episodes of Midnight Wards ever. But mostly just because watching Cardin backpedal on every single thing was
you said it was Tim Meadows.
What's that Tim Meadows? Like, is it Ladies Man? I feel like it's somebody else.
It's just something like
but
it's all the stuff. He's like, so you're gonna say that I'm gonna do this and this and this and this. If it's Ladies Man, he has that lisp. I think I remember him doing it.
And
then you think you're gonna do all this, huh? Well, I am. Something like it's just like
but it is a really big problem. Yeah,
but it is true. It is true.
Yeah, but yes.
And that's kind of like collab is a lie made up by anti-Mormons to make us look stupid. But it's true.
But yes, collab is in the scriptures.
But it is.
Also, the way he ran down Mountain Meadows, that was funny.
I need to talk about their takes on woke Pope too, because I think their takes on woke Pope were not good, in my opinion.
I didn't even listen. I started listening to that, and then I don't know, something happened. I stopped listening.
Well, the thing is, the woke Pope stuff is real deal. I've been listening to Tim Gordon's channel and a lot of different stuff.
I don't know about it, Tim Gordon.
He's just a Tradcast guy who follows it closely and kind of gives you updates on everything that's coming out of the synods and stuff. And it's not woke like Kara woke, like American academic get your NPC wake up stuff woke, but the guy is into the liberation theology global homo stuff. So it's not woke per se, but it is woke. Yes, it is 100%. And what they're doing is absolutely trying to change stuff towards a certain direction and giving precedent to change in that direction. But the Midnight Mormons reviewed it, and when they reviewed it, they're just like, well, I guess it's good. They bless gay people. I mean, we'd bless gay people, whatever. It's just not understanding what the thing was. The thing is he gave a grant for them to bless couples together. And in their church, a blessing is kind of like the thing for taking the sacrament when you can't take the sacrament. So it's like a divorce guy. So I couldn't take sacrament because I'm a divorce guy in the Catholic Church. But in place of the sacrament, I could get a blessing. So it's at that time you can go up and get a blessing at the time of right? So it's that sort of thing. So it's kind of like a ceremony. It's not just like, here's a blessing, you know, like in the Mormon church. Oh, I'm going to give you a blessing. Mormons can give blessings like whatever, gay people or something like that. No, it's more of like a blessing of basically kind of like taking the sacrament. It's basically you're kind of taking the sacrament, and the gay couples can take it together. It's not because you're gay, you can still go get your sacrament. You can come up together as a couple and get blessed together as a couple. So it's kind of symbolic of saying like you are getting blessed as this thing. And one of the other things that's upsetting to the Tradcast about it is that it's a direct reversal of previous papal decrees, which never happens. Like if they are hardcore on their popes are infallible, right? So they don't go back on something. If they go back on something, they don't go back.
It takes 500
They come up with like a workabout. You know how we talked about the Jewish workabouts? You know? They don't go back. They don't remove the thing. And this is like precedent for we can now remove things. So it's a very big deal to them. Even if they're like, if it all just stopped here, fine, we'd be fine. But we know that this is a precedent to start going down roads.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have a problem that there's a blessing of some gay couple or something like that. They have a problem that it's a trajectory.
You know, what's funny is that like it didn't even occur to me because like the way you're describing it, because like in their head they're thinking it's a blessing, like a Mormon blessing. Like, because in my head, I was never even like, well, no, duh, of course it's something else. And for a second, I was confused what you're talking about. And then I was like, oh, yeah, they're thinking of it as a Mormon blessing. Like,
yeah,
no, that's not at all.
Oh, and they're like saying, so what I say is like the equivalent of this. This is literally kind of, not literally, but as close to an equivalent I can say. It's like the proclamation of the family. I just saw a TikTok this week of this ex-Mormon girl. I have the TikTok, maybe we'll pull it up, but she's shaking her head because the Relief Society at the time of Gordon B. Hinckley, the lady from that was talking. She's saying, we were about to do this whole big program about single mothers or families too type stuff. And right at the last second, Gordon B. Hinckley came and stopped our program. And when he stopped our program, it was pretty quick after that, they released the proclamation to the family. And then, you know, it goes back to the girl. She's just shaking her head like, the travesty, you know, and all that sorts of stuff. But what this situation literally is kind of like the proclamation of the family is pretty similar to the type of decree that got taken away. Because like not something from the scriptures, it's a decree from the bosses, right? So it's kind of like the proclamation of the family. The proclamation of the family says the nuclear family is the proper family. That's the proper oriented goal family type of stuff. They'd come back 30 years later, because it was kind of around, it was Ratzinger who made the other one. So like 20 years later, and then they come back around and say, nope, we're undoing the proclamation. And we're saying single mom families are cool too. Now, if they got rid of the entire proclamation of the family and then came out with an announcement that single moms are cool too, and some random Catholic podcast was listening, some bunch of random Catholic ruffians who just have a podcast were listening, they said, oh, that's cool. That's cool. The Mormon church did that. That's cool. Yeah, single moms are families. Yeah, that's cool. But they don't understand the implications there. They don't understand that a reversal was done on a thing. And it's
this is really
part
big.
of a trajectory.
And also like the firing the bishop in Texas.
Yes, that's a huge
for
part.
Holding to Orthodox Catholicism. That's a big fucking deal.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a trajectory of like we're going against the trads.
Well, it's also just amazing how fast this has happened, because it's only been like 10 years since Father Bob McGuire, who I think just died last year. I mean, geez, did he? But in Australia, he was like, I'm a big fan of Father Bob McGuire, but like he lost his church, like he got to keep his retirement and stuff, but the Vatican really fucked him over, and it was for him being too liberal, you know. And in just 10 years, that's how fast things have shifted apparently in the Vatican. That now they're outright firing bishops for holding to the
We do not.
orthodoxy.
Yeah.
This thing. So pull up the transcript.
But anyway, because I guess we don't have to pull up any of that sort of stuff. But it is as big of an implication. Like think of the Desnats that it would be a dunk on to say we're removing the proclamation of the family, and similar type of dunking is happening on the Tradcast here, if that makes sense. Like it's a direct, intentional, understood message to the trad people who've gained some popularity in that world. It's for sure hard messaging towards them. So that's why it's turned into this big thing about woke Pope and this big fight and division in the Catholic Church. And Francis is absolutely in with Global Homo. He's in with the WEF Darvel stuff 100%. He's just in that stuff. You can call that woke, or you can just call it Global Homo. I don't know what you call it, global homogenous type crap, but he's in with it. What did you want to pull on this one?
I got to learn how to edit clips together so I can do hilarious things, but do the searchitizer for science, because this just cracked me up. Because just listening to this, I was just like, come on, man. And he does this all the time. Go to the first one and play it.
Scientific, we love it. If Irene sent her scientific when I was in physics major at BYU. Beautiful observatory.
It doesn't make sense if play it live.
Module that put men on the moon.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm just saying it sounds like there is some. There is in the faith somewhere the idea that
my father was the CFO of the unmanned drone and the space division of Northrop Grumman, the largest defense contractor in the world. That literally, it was the company that built the lunar module that put men on the moon.
Okay, well, I mean,
that's as nerdy as Cardin sound, and I don't even mean like the words that you're saying. I mean, my dad was on the moon. He's on the moon.
You just made me think of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the frat aliens. My dad owns a dealership. I think that's Patton Oswalt that plays that character. Dude, you know the guys I'm talking about? The frat aliens from Aqua Teens?
Yeah.
Dude, my dad owns a dealership.
I sometimes joke that like when I was young, and maybe it's one of the reasons I don't feel bad when I'm older, but I know that I wasn't a bully. Like I wasn't a bully to too many like young, skinny, whatever kids. And I even defended some on many occasions. But there was one or two times that you just felt that bully gene just kind of go, oh, I want to wedgie this kid so bad. And one of them was this little kid who was very, very impressed with his dad's job. And his dad was a bus driver, and he'd walk around going, my dad knows all the routes of all the buses in the town. He knows every route. I know the routes too. Do you want to hear which route goes to Ogden? Do you want to hear which route goes to Magna? And Cardin was just reminding me of that kid. He was just like back in full force right there.
Here, keep playing the clip. It was almost to the part.
I'm just saying it sounds like there is some legitimate interest in kind of seeing what's up there in the stars, right?
Well, Mormons are super scientific. We love it. The Irene Science Center, when I was a physics major at BYU.
There we go. Just that
beautiful
part.
Observatory.
Mormons are super scientific. We love it. Now clip to the next occurrence of the word science. Right here.
And this is I'm only talking to these cats because they're coming from an intradenominational point. What people forget is that secularism birthed racism. Science birthed racism. It was a scientist in air quotes named Blumenbach who was one of the first people to suggest that the races were actually disparate in their species and their moral value, and that white people were superior and so on and so forth.
Does he notice how quickly he goes from going like, oh yeah, no, science is good. Mormon science, yeah. Like, no, did you know science is literally where racism comes from? Like, it's just like, and that, goddamn, it's just so stupid. It's like, I mean, like when the fucking cares of the world say like, oh, well, Western white people invented race. It's like, no, that's retarded. Like, and Cardin's like, did you know science invented race? Like, no, Cardin, that's retarded. Don't be retarded. But also just I don't know. Again, like, does his brain even register like, well, wait a second. Just 20 minutes ago, I was praising science. And now here I am saying like, oh, by the way.
Well, the thing that's funny about that, I mean, we've all got to sort out better, like what is science and what's bunk science.
Yeah.
And the person who could probably do it first is Dan McCain.
But I mean, this is an ongoing thing with Cardin, though. I notice is that like whether science is reliable and something that you can just pull out like an ace card, trump card, or not, depends entirely on if it suits his purposes in the moment. You know, I've heard him 1,000 times either appeal to science or just poo-poo. Well, science. Well, you're going to claim science. Yeah, he's like Kara Levels of Unaware in his apologetics there. Blue Meanie confirms. Oh yeah, Father Bob did that. Blue Meanie, did you ever listen to Sunday Night Saffron? That show was amazing. Do you remember that? Because I was into it. It's been up here for a while. But it was John Safran. You remember John Safran? The Australian comedian guy who did the famous thing with Mormons where he came to Salt Lake City and did the atheist missionary thing. I'm sure you saw that video. But he had a radio show with this Catholic priest, which is funny because it was like this atheist Jew and this liberal Catholic priest who, like, it was funny because by liberal standards, he was super duper conservative because he was a Catholic priest and like refused to shit on the Catholic Church or outright. But like at the same time, he was super duper open and all that. Anyway, it was the best fucking show. But the craziest thing about, it's total tangent, but the show is, in fact, I ought to go back and listen to see if it's archived anywhere.
Is this him?
The show was called, no, in fact, like I support St. Kilda Australian Rules Football Club for no other reason than that was Father Bob's team. And so that's my only connection, but that's enough.
Wait, what did they do?
So they had this radio show. It was amazing because it was called Sunday Night Saffron, and the tagline was a conversation about politics, religion, and all things ethnic. And so it was like this show where they would tackle like all of the touchiest topics of the day. And here's the craziest part is that it was aimed at teenagers. It was on Triple J, which I guess like if you're in Australia, you know what that means. But like I had to learn all this after the fact. But like it was like, yeah, it's a radio station that was kind of aimed at young adults or teenager types. But it was just insane because like they handled these topics in the most wonderful, open, and hilarious way. Because like John Safran and Father Bob, I mean, they were very obviously friends, but they just fought constantly. They argued. And I don't know, like if I describe it, it doesn't sound as adorable as it was. But like, imagine like an atheist Jew in his 30s yelling at an old Catholic priest, like, and really yelling at him. I don't know. It's the best fucking show, but I miss it. But Father Bob is just like a hilarious dude. Like one of the most naturally funny people you've ever met. Like for a guy whose job his job was never being a comedian, and he's one of the funniest fucking people.
Nice. I want to watch that now.
Yeah, you got to check it out.
I just finished the show. It's Australian as well.
Oh no, but real quick about the show was so open, and like because even 10 years ago, like I was shocked at how open the show was. But like this show, for example, like they had phone interviews. Like they would have an interview with the leader of some KKK group, and they would be totally respectful, and they would just ask direct questions, you know. And then even afterward, they'd make it clear, like, yeah, well, we don't believe that stuff. And it was just like an incredible example of how to actually talk to people you disagree with. And like the whole point of the show is they tackled that shit every fucking Sunday. And it was amazing. And even then I remember like in America, like first off, there's no way this would be a show at all in America. And there's no way in hell they would aim it at teenagers. But alas, the world has changed. Oh, the Kolob thing. Yeah, but Kolob is real.
Years later, Elohim, in human form once again, journeyed to planet Earth from Starbase Kolob to have physical relations.
From Starbase Kolob. Okay, yeah, so
is that kind of like so like you said, so like it is like the idea of a celestial body the gods inhabit's real, but it's not like the star base, right?
I've never heard of Starbase Kolob, dude. This is cool. Mormonism is literally just getting transferred into a Star Trek episode.
Well, it's kind of, I guess, the kind of uniquely American aspect of it, right? If you kind of have like a more uniquely American religion going through the kind of like space race of the 60s. I thought it was funny, the kind of Red Scare propaganda at the beginning of this video. Where they're like,
really?
Oh, yeah, remember they said that the Mormons want to basically supplant the government and then take everyone's property and redistribute it?
Oh, I don't remember that part. I already forgot.
But
it.
Just in the context of the Cold War, it's kind of funny where it's like, oh yeah, and they're communists.
That's funny. All right, here we go. Let's finish this bad boy up. Let's watch it.
With the Virgin Mary in order to provide Jesus with a physical body.
Wow. Look at those divine eyes.
One of the Mormon apostles taught that after Jesus Christ grew to manhood, he took at least 3 wives. Mary,
What?
Martha, and Mary Magdalene.
Also,
Through
this was interesting. Or this is interesting. What is that? Was that like a thing?
Mary.
Did Jesus have like multiple wives and kids?
There's no official church doctrine on a polygamous Jesus, especially not with Mary and Martha. Mary and Martha, I believe, were sisters.
Oh, Carden, you dick face. Like,
we're
he's
from
played all dumb. Like, yeah, I know there's no official church doctrine, which is fine. You can say like, but he's playing all stupid here. It's like there's no official church doctrine, but that idea is common in Mormonism. But it's not anything that, yeah, just that. But like, I don't know, this whole thing where he plays dumb, because the star-based Kolob thing, like, obviously that characterization is like, oh, come on. Like, that's not how anybody seriously talked about Kolob in church or anything like that. I mean, like anybody really even talked about Kolob in church. But I absolutely heard people speculate about, like, basically maybe the answer to how these miraculous things happened was technology like spaceships and stuff. And frankly, I think it's because that's the other thing about this is that Carden's here all scoffing at like, oh, they're making it out like it's science fiction. That's so silly. How they're so silly. Why do they do that? Meanwhile, according to Jacob Hansen, like Jacob Hansen says from time to time, I know he doesn't say this all the time, he's not consistent about it, but he claims to not believe in anything supernatural. Like, he basically appeals to science fiction as the explanation for how church stuff happened.
Yeah,
so like
there's a scientific explanation for it.
Yeah, like, which is like, okay, then like that's star bases and starships and aliens and shit. Like, that's what that would mean, And like, yeah, I don't know. This whole episode with Carden was just delightful, though. Watching him, first off, just the switching around of like, these anti-Mormons lie about everything. But yeah, though that is in the scriptures.
So Jared made this meme about it, and I guess Brad from Midnight Mormons unfriended him for it. But I thought Jared's actually kind of making a pro-Mormon point here. He's actually saying the thing backing Jacob a little bit. He's just saying, like, why hide from it? Like, and it's going back to like the thing we said about Gordon B. Hinckley, kind of like once he's talking to the major sludge machine of the mainstream media that we got to make it all gray goo and seem just like basic old Christianity. Like, why not just say, yes, that's what we believe. Yeah. I mean, I totally get making fun of laughing at them saying star-based Kolob and getting those little things wrong and all that stuff. But then the point of, no, they're taken out of context. It's called eternal progression, and Kolob's reality is debatable. LDS apologists, Chad Mormons. One day I will create my own planet. Yes, brother. We will sip Diet Coke and witness the Kolobian sunrise. And
somebody's already done. Who was it that already did AI images?
I'll pull it up. Yeah, there's an AI. Somebody made an AI image of Jared's.
Well, that's like, because this is something that's like, I don't know. I guess I should stop being surprised by people. But like, I would have thought this would have gone over with the Mormon scene, and I'm really surprised at Brad's reaction to it. Like it really.
Well, you could say Brad's to be like, well, Carl's trying to defend it. What are you doing to defend it? And well, I mean, you kind of got us there. Like we're not the greatest defenders.
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's like, well, because Jared is defending. Like, see, that's the great irony of it. It's like, because us three as non-Mormons are like saying like, no, just fucking own it.
Yeah,
like it's okay.
Not only is it's okay, it's even cool. It's a cool idea. It's not weirder than anything in the Catholicism.
Yeah. No, in fact, and if anything, it's easier because like the thing about Catholicism is like, where's God? Like nobody knows. Like in Mormonism, where's God?
Jacob's materialism makes more sense than the flighty, space gassy, ghosty stuff of the other people. To me, the only problem is, like I've always said, is they put themselves in the position, and you have to appreciate them for it. And then sometimes I kind of wish like the falsifiers and the atheists would slow the rolls just a little bit on it, because we ask them to be in the falsifiable realm, and then they say, okay, here we are, and they go, hiya, yeah, well, thank you for coming in. Whereas the rest of them stay in this flighty space ghost gas monster realm of who knows, symbolism, intelligence, ghost gas monster, who knows, it's all the universe in one but not one, but is one but not one, and he is God but not God but isn't God, and the Trinity is all three but not three in the same one, and they stay in that realm where we can't punch, like, oh, I can't hit the ghost, the smoke monster, I can't hit it. And we say, please just come into the falsifiable realm, and the Mormons go, here we are. We go, thank you. And I actually kind of wish like we'd pull our punches a little bit, just because they're willing to come into that realm. Because you can't punch the cloud monster, which is a little bit about like the lefties and all that stuff. Like,
does anybody know Brad? Maybe somebody ought to talk to Brad.
I know Brad. I'll talk to Brad. I've given Brad like some exercise and diet advice and stuff.
Oh yeah,
he might not have like realized who Jared was and just thought he was like a random person kind of dunking on Carden or something like that. But
yeah, well, I mean also, but like Brad, like if you're gonna be friends with Carden, being on his show, you got to get used to people dunking on Carden because he's pretty dunk worthy.
People are tease on, but I've defended Carden a whole lot too.
I'm sure. But because Brad, like, of all the people,
I'll also defend
show,
you
Brad
guys
is
want
the
to
guy
dunk on what you want to dunk on.
Yeah. Like of all the regulars on that show, I think Brad is the least likely to say something extremely stupid.
Yeah, he says he stays in the nice realm for sure. Yeah. But the other guys too. I mean, we were talking about earlier. Is like, I think if you're easily offended and quick to offend, you've got a problem. I think if you offend people easily, but you can take hits, I think you're cool. Yeah. I think if you do not offend people and are sensitive, I think that's cool. That's fine too, if you're that way. But if you're somebody who gets offended very easily, but throws bombs willy-nilly, and I mean, that's just we got to knock that crap out everywhere. But I would prefer if everybody just got into the realm of let's all have thick skins and just like openly make fun of each other and stay friends through it out. But because these guys dunk on me all the time. I mean, to be in the LDS world as an ex-Mormon or as an atheist person is to constantly hear things that shit on you and shit on your choices and your opinions on stuff. Yeah. And the thing is like, I don't go like get a tear in my eye and say, but I'll still be here, something like that. I just go, just keep going. And that's honestly like, if we got your backs, if we're friends and not enemies, we would defend you guys against people trying to rip your thing away from you and sort of stuff like that. But we'll rib you here and there. We're gonna rib you.
Well, that was my whole week, which is so funny. My whole week is defending Mormons against the completely idiotic and stupid criticism about how the church could solve hunger and homelessness if they just spent the money.
Yeah.
And like, because I got thrown out of Ex-Mormon 2.0. I think we already talked about that last week because I think it's that long. But like, then even in LDS, the uncensored discussions, people like always post the same thing. And I keep getting into the same fucking fight. And I just can't, I don't understand how people can get to this age and believe the things they believe about homelessness and stuff. But like, they really, really, really believe that the only reason that anybody is cold and hungry tonight is because the church is too mean to fix it, even though they know how to do it and have the money. It's so absurd. And like, here I am, and I am going to bat for the church, saying like no, and these people are like, they're blocking me. I'm getting thrown out of groups, and they're calling me another Republican Mormon cultist apologist. All this shit.
Flip Jared and I have taken hits defending Mormons in the ex-Mormon world. We have.
Oh my God, you have no idea. No, I've been thrown out. I've literally been thrown out of both ex-Mormon groups. I got thrown out of the ex-Mormon Facebook group and ex-Mormon 2.0 for defending Mormons. That's why I got thrown out.
Yeah.
And I did that as an atheist ex-Mormon. I got thrown out.
Here's some little behind the scenes stuff though. It's not telling too much details out of school, but Cardin was really nice when I first went on a show, and then when we were first setting this up, he was helpful. Like he helped tell me how to get stuff set up. Jonathan Streeter helped me too, like a ton, just figuring out how to get this even going. But Cardin was suggesting that we put this show on Midnight Mormon's channel. And I was like, no, Cardin, because
yeah.
I'm not going to censor Jared and Flip or even ask them to censor. At the very, very beginning, I was like, maybe watch some swear words. I'll kind of bleep some of them out because we might have some LDS believing watchers. And even Jacob said that people should watch our channel just to get opinions from the LDS side. But
what I would do,
I don't tell these guys to censor their opinions at all on anything ever in any way.
If Cardin wanted to ask us to do 5, 10, 15 minutes on a subject a week and not swear,
and just take the angles that he's interested in promoting.
Not censor, because for example, when I go to the chapel, it's very rare, but I did just a few weeks ago, when I go into a church, I don't censor myself, but there is, there's, I mean, I guess
try to reel in the swear words.
I reel in the swears. They're there's things I don't go, but it's not that there's things I won't say. It's just well, no, I'm gonna just not go. I'm not gonna step on those landmines here.
Yeah.
But
kind of that would be one of my favorite. I need to get back in touch with this guy. I never had, but one of my favorite missionaries on my mission. I never got to be his companion, but we were in the same MTC and we were around each other a lot in my whole mission. He would feel bad and confess that he'd have a problem with cussing in his prayers. I'd be like, what? And he'd be like, yeah, I just sometimes in my prayers I'm like, come on, God, this is bullshit. What the hell's going on, God, Jesus?
Wow.
And I said, well, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, man.
I should have tried praying like that. I might have gotten a result.
You might have felt better about it, gone through stuff better.
Maybe the reason God didn't answer is because he couldn't hear me because I wasn't swearing loud enough.
Yeah. What is that? What is that? Do you know what that is? Can I share it? What is that?
It's the flag for nuance, I think.
Oh my God! Is that Jonathan?
Did you make a nuance flag?
He did. Oh, we gotta.
We're gonna get banned if we put.
The thing is, we keep getting credit for some of Jonathan's hilarity because he's not on anything, and we post it up. And this. I'm gonna show a clip of what Jonathan said. CogDis-Hoe was not telling tales out of school. This is us. We take the blame for it. If you want to call somebody a misogynist, call us a misogynist. But Jonathan said this is basically what it felt like listening to. Kara and Lindsay.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I was born with the ability to solve geopolitical issues, even though I'm not able to solve any of the problems in my own life. You tell me you're supposed to pay taxes every couple years? Every year? Solve the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, inflation, unemployment, all without being able to keep a job myself, or a relationship, or keep a pet without having it die. Okay, could you just not cut off my card today, though? Solving geopolitics is actually easy. What's hard is getting to my coffee shop gig on time, and now my boss won't give me any shifts. I've never eaten a vegetable. But more importantly, I don't really have time to deal with all that mumbo jumbo right now because I'm focused on—
Kara actually made the argument in that she said that she was following the Jordan Peterson rules, when we criticize Islam, we're not allowed to criticize Islam because we need to clean our room first. And that's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's like, let's just aggressively misunderstand everything we come across ever.
Well, no, but I mean,
you can absolutely judge Islam up against Christianity.
She genuinely believes that the United States is the great evil. Like, they really believe that we are the United States is the.
Okay, Jonathan just made that. That's the
Jonathan made that for the nuances.
The nuances. That sounds like you're saying it like a Jewish person too. The nuances. The nuances.
The nuances.
That sounds like the same word. Nuances. Oh my goodness. Nuances. Sounds like Kyle's mom saying Nazi. Nuances. Oh, goodness gracious.
Stereotyping blue church people is terrible.
The blue church. Jordan Peterson says you can't criticize Islam until Christianity is perfect. That's how we became a nuancey.
Kara, I don't have empathy.
What's up, Risto? Man. What were we on? Oh, back to Cardin and that sort of stuff. Yeah, we would make 5-minute things. Nuances. Mr. Chris on Butch. The nuances. We're the nuances. We could become like a whole army. We could become a whole army for Kara. The nuances. We're the nuances. That's an N for the nuances. Risto for nuance host. It sounds like Kyle's
donate $10
with the nuances.
We'll send you an armband. And everybody knows that you have empathy with your armband.
If you don't have empathy, straight to jail. Straight to jail. Let's see here. The nuances. So I was going to go through some memes, but what was the other issue? I was going to talk a little bit more about the plagiarist stuff shaking out. So it turns out that the plagiarist, you know how I was asking last week, how does this lady, like, we know that there are perfectly meritorious Black people in the world, and they should be good enough. There should be enough of them that the people rising to the top at Harvard have all the merit in the world. Yeah. And it should only be about like 15 colleges down that we start getting ladies like that who are just absolute hacks. Well, I found out there's a reason for that. The Washington Examiner did a story on her, and the story went into detail about how she went around and canceled a whole bunch of other Black people with a ton of
communists. How communists do it. Like, yeah, that's how you rose to the top under Lenin and Stalin, is that you denounced everyone else as not being.
You got up there because you cut the other people out. I thought
you were the most radical.
Yep. So I was wondering, like, how did like such a hack made it get to the top of Harvard?
What did she make? What did she make? Probably $600,000 a year minimum.
Oh, I'm sure more than that.
You think?
Yeah, so here it is from the Washington Times. Miss Gay's institutional rise was marked by a pattern of destroying the careers of genuinely brilliant Black scholars who had stature to point out her mediocrity. Oh, I was wondering how that happened. And there was a couple different Harvard professors who were, you can't go through it like that hard because of the dumb stuff, but she has, dang it, come on. I can't, there's too much advertisements on it for me to pull it up, but yeah, that Washington it's the Washington Times goes into the detail of her doing that. I don't know like how like the face of all their whole world of stuff isn't coming crashing down between the cognitive dissonance of the stuff of the lefties backing Hamas entirely, and then they go and this gets exposed while they just could not say, after all of their extremely touchy harassment policies, they could not say calling for genocide was harassment. And Kara was just here bragging to all of us, if something looks like genocide, sounds like genocide, walks like genocide, talks like genocide, I'm not with it. That's her hardcore black and white thinking. So you're not with it, Kara, when these Harvard professors refused to calling for genocide harassment when using the wrong pronoun is? Like, I myself am strong free speech advocate. I'd be like, yeah, whatever, if they're going around barking words out or whatever, and they're dumb kids on the street and they're stupid things, as long as they don't get violent, which they probably will get violent, but you got to wait for them to get violent to do something against them. We could do that, but the problem is you guys already set precedent with extremely touchy harassment policy, and with all that other harassment touchy policy, you can now turn around and not say that calling for genocide isn't harassment. And they wouldn't say anything about it. And then it exposed this lady's plagiarism, and then her plagiarism exposed how she's been a complete commie hack. Governor Cox said that Utah University is requiring signed DEI statements of prospective hires borders on evil. But the U of Utah, UVU, Utah Tech, Weber State, and Snow colleges all said they require no such thing.
That is a lie.
He's in like almost every post debunking it. He's almost kind of like the community notes of Utah stuff. Every single Utah post, like whenever somebody says like books got canceled by these horrible right wingers, he's there to like say, here's the porn, here's the porn, here's the porn, here's the porn. And then here he is on this with the receipts that all those guys did have DEI policies at their schools and DEI statement policies. Bunch of hacks.
I mean, so you just drive along the University of Utah campus now, and you see they've got these big electric signs, and they've got these ads, and it says, racism exists. What does it say? Racism exists. You aren't immune if you see it reported. That's everywhere on the University of Utah campus right now.
Yeah. Risto says we should make a Nuances porch time merch. Nuances.
I feel like we would get pretty shut down.
We'd be pretty canceled pretty fast. We should do it anyway.
True.
Let's see. Charlie. Do you see Charlie sticking his head up in there? I know.
Charlie ready to go?
We
don't have to go real long today.
Yeah, we cut a little short for the Christmas week, but look at this one. This guy's kind of a pretty frequent Mormon poster, and I actually kind of like a lot of the takes that he has here and there. He has interesting takes or strong takes, but this one, I don't know about this fella. He says, he's Josh N on X, pretty good channel to follow, but Christians will soon awaken to their church's overrun of social justice and find out but one still holding the line. Then they must ask, do Mormons have the wrong Jesus, or could their truer doctrine have preserved connection to the Jesus we once loved? I think it's wishful thinking. Like, I'm on your side. Like, I hope for you, but I don't believe in you.
Yeah.
I was kind of pointing out to some people that the first time I went on the Midnight Mormons, I was talking to them about they need to hold on to the culture. And Brad was saying that, no, we need to strip away all the culture. We need to get rid of all this stuff. And I was kind of arguing for the line of, you guys should have kept softball. You should have kept road shows. You should have kept scouts. You should have kept the hard culture stuff, the salt of the earth stuff. And Brad is along the lines of saying, no, we need to strip all that stuff out. That's all boomer culture, suburban culture. And we need to cut it all out and just have Jesus. And then I said to them, what if Jesus and the concept of Jesus gets hijacked by liberation theologists, leftists? And that's, you cut it all down to that, and then you just have that. And I was talking to them generally about that Gramsci thing of like, your strong culture is the only thing that's going to stand up to that thing that's trying to suck everything into like the global homo. Like I said, the Pope is the global homo, and what stands up to it is this hard culture we have around here, not some purified Jesus. And I think if you purify Jesus down to where it's just like any other Christianity, I think you're just joining up with the thing that they're trying to carve out. And I think each one of those different denominations needs to kind of hold on to one of their things. And I think this guy's right that if one of them can remain standing while the rest of them just get sucked into the nothing, maybe it will stand out. It will stand out as the the Christianity that didn't just become part of the global homo, but I look at all of you and I told the Midnight Mormons at the end of it, I said, if this church stands up, is the beacon of the hill and stands up against that stuff, I will join up with you. I will join you. I said that at the end of the episode. Here's the problem. It's like, I kind of knew, I felt to myself, I'm calling your bluff. You know, like you're going to fall down it. It's going to go down it. Like, I don't know, in 10 years, 20 years, like the managerialism of the whole church, the whole system of it, the whole risk aversion that we've talked about, like, I hope not. Like, I hope it stands up to be. If it does, I'll keep that thing up. I'll say that same thing up. If you guys prove to be the ones that stands up against it, and like there's a big proof and it's obvious, I'll be like, well, maybe I should join up with that, because otherwise I'll get sucked in that vortex too. But I don't think that moment's gonna come.
No.
I think the vortex is stronger than you're worried about, and I think the people inside of the church have affinity to join up with it. The guy who got just called the new apostle, all that sorts of stuff. I think there's trouble. There's trouble, just like the popes woke.
Yeah.
Your most recent apostles probably woke. I mean, it's just across the board. It's managerialism, and all that managerialism plays to global homo, WEF, World Economic Forum, global homo. Disabled Canadian Army veteran, Paralympian, blasts the government after they offered to euthanize her when she complained about how long it was taking to get a stair lift installed.
Isn't this story old? I feel like that, or is this a nuts?
2022. Yep, you're right.
Oh, okay.
December 2022. I hadn't heard that one.
Oh, I heard that one.
Do you want to hear a feminist girl find out that she likes traditional dudes?
Date this week, and I felt the feminism leaving my body. I live on the east side of LA, and if you don't know what that means, it's sort of like the artsier part of LA. You know, it's people say it's like Brooklyn and New York. Like, so I go on dates with a lot of men and women who, you know, live over here. There's always a negotiation about who pays, and that's great. I like to pay for people, all that. But what I will say is that I sort of fell into going on a date with the most guy I've ever been on a date with.
Accidentally.
West, you know, Santa Monica. He's a bro, right? Accident. A guy's guy is usually not my type. Like, I cannot remember the last time that I went on a date with like a straight bro. You know what I'm saying? But
like, when was I off of the pill and the SSRIs long enough to even notice one? I don't know, because like I get on all those and men just vanish. They disappear. They turn into ghosts. And then I got off them for like a week and like, wait a minute, there's these giant men things around here. It was kind of like something of something out of H.P. Lovecraft. Like, you don't notice the big thing there. Like, the freaky thing in H.P. Lovecraft is that maybe you're not noticing something gigantic like Cthulhu right there by you. And I didn't realize there was a giant muscly man hanging out and standing around me. Like, he was just invisible to me, just this big old guy who focuses too much on things and not on people. He was just invisible to me. And then I got off my SSRIs for 1 week, and then all of a sudden he appeared.
It befell me in an organic fashion. So I'm on this date with this guy, and the thing about a guy's guy is he's putting his card down. He's paying for everything. And I really it sort of activated something feral in me. I'm not gonna lie. We went to like another bar, and he was gonna go to the bathroom. So I was getting prepared to pay for our drinks because he's been paying all night. Of course I'm gonna pay for the next round. But as he's going to leave for the bathroom, he turns to me and he hands me his credit card. And he goes, "Here's my card. Get us whatever." It might be time for me to get away from all these, you know, liberal snowflakes on the east side.
Yeah. Well, there you go. From the horse's mouth.
Whole math for you. Some nuanced whole math.
Man.
Let's look at some memes and then call it some goods.
Cool.
I think hit the general topics. The what are some comments? Cardin versus Scientologist was the worst Cardin ever. Yeah, Cardin.
That was pretty bad, but I don't know if it's the worst.
Jonathan had that argument. Cardin actually, he called me after that one because he felt that he felt that he got put into a position of overly defending the Scientologists, and he was kind of rolling with it, and he doesn't actually feel that like he should. He was rolling with it as a bit, kind of like, man, I'm just defending the Scientologists because we were saying like, oh, maybe these guys have gotten hard like the Mormons have gotten hard, and then he just kind of was rolling into it. But his position on that was that I kind of halfway through found myself defending a thing that I really had no reason to be sitting there defending, and that made me look bad, and he was upset about it. You have to be a church that cares more for truth than growth. I think that is true, 100% true. I actually said the same thing on Jacob Hans's thing. I think true belief is the only thing that will pull something through. None of this people doing it for managerial or political reasons. It's got to be true belief. True belief is all it works. It's got to be real. Just like love's got to be real. True love. Almost all churches get sucked in. Yep. Get out of the politics game. Get in true love. Isn't that a new issue with the church during COVID? The church had to go along with the church regulations that were established in every nation because it's a global church. Yeah. You got to watch out for we've said it here before, that risk aversion, lawyerly risk aversion looks a whole lot like wokeness. In fact, it's barely distinguishable, like when you see like how it plays out on paper. But that's kind of one of the things I've wanted to get into more, and I've been thinking about making like little shorter 15 to 10-minute videos about the managerialism, the managerial revolution, James Burnham managerial revolution of the church, and how turning into a thing that puts up. He made those criticisms of just political systems and institutions. He wasn't even thinking of like the Mormon church. He didn't know the Mormon church existed. And Jacques Ellul talked about the same thing too, he would talk about it almost kind of like technology, but not technology like AI stuff. He would talk like the missionary handbook was a technology, according to Ellul. What that means is like you've systematized a thing and passed it on to different people through a system. And you made this managerial system of stuff. So it's a managerial technology that just kind of gets passed along through.
That's how Scientologists use the word.
Yeah. But he's using it as like kind of like talking about something that kind of goes and strips any sort of it just kind of makes it mechanistic. And then the mechanism becomes what pushes on and survives and passes on. And you can kind of see it in the church, like how they all the leaders just now are lawyers and PR people. I mean, I don't know what else there is. And
yeah,
you could do like a pretty good study on the whole entire thing of like the church is like, if you read James Burnham's The Managerial Revolution and how he talks about this, how that slowly just turns into that across all things. James Burnham was a guy that Orwell read. Orwell was big on James Burnham. And the stuff he predicts about how stuff turns into managerial systems before they even really did, because he was writing this in like the 30s or 40s, and you could just like compare it up to like how stuff seems to be going in the church, and it's not good. Like I think they'd have to get away a bit from how they do their hierarchy. Like they've got to put some fire back in their selections of people. They should come out and just select some young guy who hasn't been in the church anywhere ever and is just some fiery broad dude.
Brad Whitbeck,
yeah. That would be, I think that would spark something out of nowhere. They just put Brad Whitbeck in there. 100%. I 100% agree with that. Like that would put a spark back in, just even if he was just down at like apostle level or something. Everybody's like, what the what? I'm like, yep, that's what we're doing. You're like, whoa. Something that's just not obvious managerialism. Oh, let's do just some memes and then go. You watch any shows? I was gonna say I watched an Australian show called Mr. In Between. It was only 3 seasons. Like those foreign channels are pretty good to do, so you could get through the whole thing. It was pretty good. It was kind of a little Breaking Bad-ish, and not only like 2 or 3 kind of wokey things. Not really.
You know what I actually watched that popped up? Like I kind of I sort of half watched, like listened, background watch, and I'm actually going through it all again, but because it just popped up on YouTube. But in one giant block, they have the entire series of Dilbert. And, Yeah,
That'd
and
be
like
good.
that show is pretty good. Like it only went for 2 seasons. I kind of wish that it could have gotten more seasons. I kind of feel like if they'd gotten a little bit more traction under them, they could have really gotten going. Because like it had a lot of the same guys as Simpsons. You can tell from the voices and stuff. And Larry Charles, produced it.
Oh no!
And it was actually pretty good.
So,
oh boy,
this is the thing of the anti-woke maybe going too far. A quick took this down. He said this was a bit of a. It looked like a woke tree on the.
Like it doesn't. Like I don't get that from that at all.
Next year's Book of Mormon thing, and actually, the lady come out who was the artist of it and said, "No, I did not think of the wokeness and the pride tree at all when I made this. What are you talking about?" Please take this down."
That's oversensitivity. That's not reminiscent of the rainbow flag or anything. That's just.
I don't know that I would have thought that it was if I saw it cold turkey, because I only saw it the first time in the context of all this, and I think if I saw it outside of any context, I don't think I would have gone there.
No,
like it's too orange and those colors are kind of like the typical colors of like. Did you ever notice that
the palettes and the aesthetic are wrong? Because one thing is like because for one thing, wokeness is very rigid, like the rigid bars of the rainbow flag. And this is not rigid. It's all very kind of freeform. It's kind of stained glassy, random bits.
And it's got more of that teal orange color grading. You know that teal orange that's used on like all movies? Have you ever seen that?
Which one?
Teal orange. The teal orange is like like the teal orange is kind of like the famous. Every movie you look at, you don't realize it's got like a color coding of teal and orange.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
There it is on the screen. I think they put it on a.
No, everything in like that's one of the things that made Battlefield Earth so bad. Like all the outdoor scenes are super yellow filter, and all the indoor scenes are super blue filter.
So you look at all these teal orange, like you don't realize it, but almost everything you've ever seen is just teal orange for the past 20 years.
Dude, that's funny.
Because it's just kind of one of the most obvious.
Yeah.
Nothing's black, yellow. It's all teal orange.
That's so nuts.
Yeah.
You got some meme?
Yeah, a few more memes. Just a few more. This is an oldie but a goodie. College students, when they get their first salary, I don't want to play with you anymore. It's the Communist Manifesto. Who else do we got? Man, the Salt Lake Tribune sucks so much.
Are they so bad?
Everything they do is I posted one on my main Facebook page that like it was this whole news article just about the Salt Lake, the Real Wives of Salt Lake gossiping, and it was on. It was in the news just like it was like a real story. And I should just go to the Twitter right now and just like see what their first 5 stories are. But like, look, here's one. Boo, 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 boo. Let me see if I can find it. Like, look at this. Salt Lake Tribune letter. LDS church policies and actions compel people like me to take offense and leave. Okay. December 17th, 2020.
Tanner Call. Did Tanner Call take offense and leave?
Tanner Call. Is he a person like? What's a person like Tanner Call? What's a Tanner Call?
Yeah.
Did you see that one that we pulled it up that some of those guys in the Red Pill Manosphere were talking about the new word to use, like how many Tuckers could you fight? And the Tucker, I think it was Tanner. What's the name of the nuance? The kid on Zelf. It's Tanner, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had a whole little bit of this guys in the Red Pill universe were talking about how many Tanners can you fight at once, and it was like 20 different times. So there's another Tanner. I want to see if I can find that real quick. It's on one of our past episodes. How many is his name Tanner on Zelf?
Isn't it? I feel like it is.
I think it is. All right, I'll see if I can.
Yeah, the amount of Taylor Swift news on BBC and stuff, like in Britney news. Like I guess like when Britney's court case, like I guess that's kind of news.
What happened there?
No, just because Risto is saying there was an article about Taylor Swift's cat on CNN, and I was thinking about that, about how much like the BBC and stuff is occupied by things like Britney Spears and Taylor Swift and whatnot. But also, like, I mean, you know, because I don't know. At the same time, like, the BBC has a sports section, you know, which is kind of funny. It's like in fact, sports oftentimes makes it onto the front page, if not the top story, of the BBC. Where it's like, well, really? But I guess that's news. Like, I mean, I care about it, but like, it's weird to me that the same place that I find out about soccer bullshit is where I find out that, you know, like Hamas blew up a hospital parking lot.
Where did you find out about that?
On the BBC.
You watch a ton of BBC, don't you?
No, like I wake up in the morning every single day. First thing and throughout the day, I read the BBC and then I read KSL. I do like world national news and then I do local news, and I read the news every single day. At least, and I do at least the BBC and the KSL. Usually I look at more news than that. But yeah. And I've been reading / listening to the BBC every day for close to 30 years. And I've watched them go to shit. I've absolutely watched them go to shit.
Yeah, it's all turned to crap, but the trib is bad. I'm not going to find that video of them saying the...
I was just talking, I don't remember what it was. I was just talking to somebody, but we were talking about how we've noticed how quality control of media has gone down, like typos in journalism.
Oh, yeah.
Like typos on the BBC and New York
Josh
Times.
Slocum talks about that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more. All righty, what do you got?
I want to try to see, just out of nowhere, cold, what the first 5 Tribune things would be on X. But let me see if I just got a couple more. Oh, did you follow this whole story? Riding with Biden?
No.
You don't know the story?
I don't think so.
The staffer of a senator was banging.
Oh, I've seen people talking about this.
Yeah, that's actual view of that. But,
Stafford filmed sex in.
And I guess another video just came out today. I don't know what that one's about, but they said.
Dude, that's amazing.
That kind of goes along with like this right here. Like, you remember he talked about he was going to bring decency back to the White House. Look at all this decency back in the White House. Finally, we got decency back in the White House.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe this one where this trans person was doing this at.
Did you know that that Donald Trump was a misogynist? And but they brought the decency back. And so tits and dancing and sex.
This was the one I posted. The 5 Real Housewives of Salt Lake City think the 6 is spreading destructive false rumors.
This is a story suggested for you. Thanks, the best.
The Tribune. Very good story, the Tribune. You're very, very good.
Very informative. Very news.
Yeah, I like this one. He radicalized you.
That is a good one.
Oh, look at this. This, John DeLynn. If states are allowed to decide if women can have abortions, okay, should states, also be, allowed to decide who is on their ballot for president, okay.
Wow, John DeLynn, you're amazing. That's absolutely brilliant. I can't believe you managed to put that together.
Nuance, okay. I said I was heartened by that one because actually I saw a lot of pushback in the comments, and you didn't used to see that. And a bunch of the pushback was even maybe some lefties who were like, "Yeah, no, he's not convicted. This is an overstep." wait. They were like, convict him first because they believe they'll get a conviction. But they're like, if he's not convicted, you can't do this. Yeah.
This is obviously an overstep.
Yeah.
No, I think we might see the beginning of the unwinding of American democracy because we're turning into a banana republic. Because this is just how the banana republic. You use the courts to invalidate all political opposition, and then you become Brazil.
Yep. And then pretty soon you're getting hunted down by this.
This
is Walmart from the city.
AI is doing some amazing things.
Don't call transgender people mentally ill if you believe a man in the clouds loves you unconditionally, but under certain conditions. I thought mentally ill was okay. I thought.
Yeah. Why is it you're acting like it's something wrong to call somebody mentally ill? Michelle Visage. Is that Blossom holding behind that?
I don't know the person.
Michelle Visage. Is it a drag queen?
I'm guessing it is. Here's this one. I mentioned it last week. This is your annual reminder that Die Hard was actually originally a pagan festival. I saw somebody break down that they're like, wait a minute. A bunch of people went up a tower, chased some people up. There was a fight. The tower was defended. Die Hard is a Hanukkah movie.
Yeah. You sent us that. I think you sent us that thread. I think so.
The Hanukkah movie one. I'll see if I pull it. Yeah. The Salt Lake Tribune. We pulled this last week. That was the ladies complaining about not being on the stand anymore. Just a few more memes, and then we'll look at the nuance and then call it good and get Charlie Pup his walk.
Charlie dog walk. Charlie walking dog.
Charlie. Who got the diversity, equity, and inclusion certificate? Somebody got a diversity, equity, and inclusion certificate. Oh wait, Jared tried to apply online for an eCornell diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh yeah, they wanted 14,000. How much did they want? $6,000.
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
It was many thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And I think we'll wind it down here. Okay, I'm gonna go to the Tribune on this is the show I mentioned, Mr. In Between. It's pretty good. This guy is he's just a crime boss, but he also has to be a dad when he goes home. I think that's funny. Like Ethan Van Sciver used to have the joke that he was doing the reverse with the Rainbow Bright. He was doing the Rainbow Bright what all the feminists were doing to their comic books. So he took over the Rainbow Bright IP, turned her into Rainbow Brute, and Rainbow Brute is a murderous, fighting, womanizing, masculine, patriarchal man who don't take no crap from nobody, and he's a pretty good dad. Everything the opposite of what they do and stuff. Make sure Andy's a pretty good dad. But that's this show kind of right here. This guy's a murderous hitman, and he's a pretty good dad. So that's Rainbow Brute right there. Not too bad. It's on Hulu. Let's see. This was my bad meme about Dan McCann. Oh, he had 2 live streams this week, which I turned into both of them for back exactly 2 minutes just to hear him long enough to say, hey, if you're reading your own politics into the Bible too much, you're probably reading it wrong. I heard him say that on both live streams within like 2 minutes. I'm like, man, not only can he project at the best of them, it's like you don't even have to wait for him to do it. But this is the author is dead when Dan McClellan is happy. Oh, wait a minute. That author completely dead for anybody else. Look, the authors are resurrected. Look, these authors didn't say what you wanted them to say.
That is exactly right.
I think that's about it. And then we're gonna go. Oh, There was a new "What Makes the Song Stink." Have you listened to it yet?
Oh, I need to watch that. That's a good thing I should watch.
And this is dunking on kind of gorky right-wing politics guy, but he does a pretty good job too of sticking to just pointing out why the song stinks. I appreciate that. Like I appreciate it's like this just isn't the politics. He mentions the politics once or twice. He says the politics suck, and it is pretty boomer conny politics. But he really sticks to why the song stinks.
The song is bad. That's I listened to it. I think I listened to half of it one time. Like I got through the verse and the chorus, and I'm like, this is just bad. Just a bad song.
Okay.
Well, alrighty.
I'm gonna look at the Twitter feed for the Tribune just to see what's there. This could be a bust, and then we're gonna call it good.
Show us the Charlie
share
doll.
the scab instead. Home. What are you doing for the holidays? Straight party with the this Chinese commercial is insane. Oh, I've seen that. Have you seen this? It's a Chinese commercial, and she washes a black guy and turns him white.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's probably from like 1980 something. I bet you they wouldn't do it these days anyway. Oh no, he's not white. He's Han.
Oh, he's a Han Chinese. Yeah,
Han Chinese. Yeah, they'd wash us into that too, wouldn't they? Although I don't think all the Chinese ladies like the Han Chinese guys that much. Maybe they do.
It's a different brand for turning white people into
What do you
Han
think?
Chinese.
I don't even know what this is. I just clicked over. What do you think David Bednar's saying? Should we hear it?
Yeah.
I believe it is vital for us to recognize that the sweeping governmental restrictions that were placed on religious gatherings at the outset of the COVID-19 crisis truly were extraordinary. In what seemed like an instant, most Western governments and many others simply banned communal worship. These restrictions eliminated public celebrations of Easter, Passover, Ramadan, and other holy days around the world. No other event in our lifetime, and perhaps no other event since the founding of this nation, has caused quite this kind of widespread disruption of religious gatherings and worship. The COVID-19 restrictions affected the Church of Jesus Christ.
Seems like pretty basic stuff, I guess.
The Church's April
Yeah, it seems like standing up to that crap like 4 years late.
2020 General Conference, a celebration of the bicentennial of the vision of the prophet Joseph.
Have you noticed? Like church is like down. It's like down and out. People hardly attend anymore, and they still like will leave some options in some churches to catch it online.
Yeah.
It really is down. Not only because they went down to 2 hours, but like meat body churches.
So everybody got used to staying home for church.
As to a global audience from a small auditorium with only a handful of people attending, instead of from our large conference center with a congregation of more than 20,000 people. Now, clearly, governments have an affirmative duty to protect public health and safety, and I believe public officials have most often sought to do the right things to protect the public from the virus. Drawing proper lines to protect both public health and religious exercise in a pandemic is very challenging, but we cannot deny, and we should not forget, the speed and intensity with which government power was used to shut down fundamental aspects of religious exercise. These decisions and regulations were unprecedented. For nearly 2 months, Americans and many others throughout the free world learned firsthand what it means for government to directly prohibit the free exercise of religion.
That is pretty base, but it's 4 years too late.
Yeah, no, it is kind of funny. It's like, why were you saying this now? This is too late.
And I guarantee if they gave a mandate again tomorrow, you just go right along in line with it. Like I can't at this moment.
Oh, you just posted the Salt Lake Tribune. You didn't search for
nice. I'm gonna leave that up.
Now you're doing it again. You're just posting.
Am I posting it? I'm not in the search bar. I should do it again. I'm a boomer. The Salt Lake Tribune.
There we go.
I typed it wrong. Oh look, that's the dude I know from my high school, Jimmy Rex.
What? Oh, you just
he calls it
Forrest
the
Gump
tribe.
again.
What?
You just did the Forrest Gump again. Just ran into somebody famous.
Yeah, that's somebody famous who I knew from. He's part of that Tim Ballard mess.
Utah Jazz, the trend. Oh, wait,
that's
the
not
Jazz
woke.
won?
Okay, here we go. So we got a Jazz thing.
Okay.
Number 2, letter. Yes, by all means, let's prove to the men how much the LDS Church runs on women.
Okay.
That's the second thing. Letter. Why are citizens using Utah over the Little Cottonwood environmental impact statement?
I'm sure it's woke shit when we dig into it.
Opinion. We've tumbled over a child care cliff.
Huh. I wonder what that is.
Opinion. Oprah proves diet culture spares no one.
Woke shit.
Like, has there been news yet? Have any of these been news?
No.
Utah Eats. How to
charcuterie ski?
Do you know that word?
It's a portmanteau of charcuterie and ski.
Is that how you spell charcuterie?
Charcuterie. Yeah.
So that's a fluff piece. Salt Lake City's first legal camp. Cox on diversity programs and allegations against the Provo OBGYN on Behind the Line.
That's that kind of news.
None of the schools that responded to Tribune require applicants to sign DEI statements. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
And once again, culture war stuff. When churches find out, alleged abuse advocates say calling the police is not enough.
Oh, did the advocates say that? Is that the thing they said?
Utah resource managers ask court to sink Great Salt Lake lawsuit. Christmas lights. Back to the jazz. Like, if we were to buy them and take them over like we Elon Musk them, how could we even like get back to news? Like, what is there even news going on around here? Or is it just culture war and from the lefty point of view? That's all that we get from the Salt Lake Tribune?
Like, it's a matter of business. Like, yeah, like if you're trying to draw eyeballs, news doesn't work.
There has been a dramatic evolution of heart. I mean, this even turned out better than I even thought it would. Like, I was like, maybe there'll be news there. No. There has been a dramatic evolution of hearts and minds regarding same-sex marriage in Utah over the last decade.
News, yeah. No, yeah, you're right. This is amazing.
Check out this thread on the Tribune Culture Music Reporter. Governor Cox is another one on the DI statements.
Environmental
nonprofits, Colorado River Basin are asking Department for money. Latest on Mormonland, what we learned about Joseph Smith this year. What do you think it is? I can't click on it because they'll have too many ads. He was a prophet, somebody said. This newspaper is so unserious. That is correct.
Truth.
Another basketball one. So I guess basketball is the closest thing to news. More graves of Mountain Meadow massacre victims may have been discovered. That might be news.
That's actually interesting.
But it's still like church culture war stuff.
Yeah.
Next year, 100 South and Sugar House will get a major facelift. That's news.
Hey.
Like, how many stories are we in? Like, we get some actual like Utah person.
It's like a dozen it, yeah.
Now they're on the Colorado. Let's see if they give an angle on it. Colorado ruling on Donald Trump won't impact Utah's 2024 presidential nomination. Maybe they'll build another dam. Yeah, that went right about how we thought it would.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Anyway.
Alrighty.
We should just join the nuancy party.
Look at it.
I wonder if the AI reading my transcript is thinking that I'm saying Nazi like a Jew right there.
Nuance.
We're going to be part of the nuancy party, and we're going to be nuances from this point on.
We're going to approach all the issues with nuancy ideology.
Part of being a nuancy is pointing out how the Jews cause all the problems over there in Israel. That's part of being a nuancy. You know,
nuances understand the role that Israel plays in oppressing Gaza.
That's what it takes to be a nuancy. If you want to be a nuancy like us, you got to know just how bad Israel is and have empathy. Empathy.
Show us your Charlie. Charlie dog.
Hey, buddy. Come on. Let me see if I can see the screen here. Where did I lost the screen? There it is. Come here, Bubbash. Come here, Bubbash. Let's say Merry Christmas. Come here. Come here.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, hello. There he is. He's ready for walks.
Charlie dog. Bucket's ready for her dinner.
All right.
All right.
Everybody join the nuancy party. And Merry Christmas, you bunch of nuances. And happy. I don't know. We'll be back.
Remember to have empathy.
Yeah. Have empathy and be a nuancy. Good night.
Right.